Our next speaker today is Merrick Lackner. Merrick Lackner is the co-founder and CEO of Rently, the industry leader in self-guided tour technology. Merrick, along with co-founder Clark Lee, has been disrupting the prop tech industry since 2011, having created self-guided touring technology as a missing link in the residential property management sector. Merrick has a deep passion for finding ways to create lasting value while providing a product with positive ROI for every single client. Merrick was an early adopter of smart apartment technology, which drove the vision for Rently Keyless, an IoT division of the company. This belief in the future of smart home technology, based on years of studying property management trends, as well as being a client-first CEO, has guided Rently Keyless to great partnerships with some of today's largest operators. Merrick treats every day as a new opportunity to learn new things, which is a huge component to the success that he has guided Rently to. Having studied abroad at Shanghai Jiao Tong University and UC Berkeley, Merrick has developed a unique worldview that he uses to lead Rently fearlessly, passionately, and decisively. Please join me in welcoming Merrick to the stage.
Thank you, Patricia. I greatly appreciate being part of RETCON today. It's amazing what the industry is doing through COVID. I mean, real estate has been around forever, but we're doing so much on the forefront of technology. Today, we're going to be discussing the NOI levers in the industry. Those levers have actually not changed, even though the technology has been around for now a decade. And we're going to talk about the verticals and the products and the evolution of what's happened. You know, it's actually quite interesting, even though the technology is not new, it's older. One of our earliest adopters was actually an elderly gentleman from Burbank. And back in the day, Clark and I, we would go out and put the for rent signs. We've got one in the background here, up in front of the homes, and we put the digital lockbox out. The concept was really simple. Any renter that's looking to view a home could instantly register on their mobile phone with their name, phone number, valid credit card, and then head up to the front door and get a one-time entry access code to see the unit all by themselves. So we did this for the fellow. And at the time, we did it for $99. So I think, you know, after the lease was all said and done, you know, Clark and I each made only $50 a piece. And, you know, people often ask, why don't you guys do and work with the individual landlord market? And the answer is that Clark came to me and he said, look, Merrick, I need to make more than $50 a week. I love him to death. And he was right. We need something scalable here. And so that's when we really started to turn our focus to the small business owners and enterprise entities out there. And it's quite interesting that, you know, on that journey, we got a tip, you know, you got to go check out a company out in Malibu. At the time they were headquartered there, American Homes for Rent. And there were these REITs, single family REITs that were just forming at the time, buying tens of thousands of homes throughout the nation. And I called a fellow named Tom Halleck, and great guy, just such a nice, solid guy in the industry. He said, come on over. His son's actually an Olympic medal winner for the US team. And I showed him the digital lockbox. And I said, look, with this technology, you can let somebody register and go right in to see the property on their own. And he said, you know, Merrick, I don't know about this. I said, come on, Tom, where do you guys have properties that are available for lease? He said, well, we're going to Arizona tomorrow, and we've got 20 properties there. I said, all right, Tom, I'm coming with you. Clark and I, we packed our bags. We were on the next flight with him. We put 20 digital lock boxes in the bag. The rest is history. And from there, we moved forward with our technology. You know, looking back at the industry when single family first adopted the technology, they had a couple of challenges as single family focused operators. They had inventory that was disparately spread throughout the nation. So that was one challenge. The second challenge was efficiency. They needed to drive you know, leases quickly without either having to drastically increase headcount or hire many commissioned realtors out in the field. And at the time, the technology was very access centric. You know, mobile device, a smart lockbox right here that lets you in the door. And that was the challenge. And the technology, you know, we went out, we put the 20 digital lockboxes and got the system set up for self-showing with the mobile phone at that time as the centric piece. And the rest is history. It was tremendously successful. But what's changed since then is that in the last few years, in the last 5 years particularly, we've seen the adoption by single family, multifamily, new construction, and build to rent. And the product has evolved a lot as well. So, the first evolution in this journey is the vertical expansion. We've gone from single family being the starting point all the way over to single family, multifamily, new construction, and build to rent. But with multifamily, the product actually is very unique. The renter needs to be able to, get past the common area at the front door. Once they're in the community, they need to be able to navigate the landscape. They need to be able to liaison with the leasing agent, on site. And what's changed is rather than self-showing just being a point solution that's mobile oriented, it's become a full platform where the SaaS is used by the managers day to day. The entire process can be driven end to end. So rather than being a mobile centric solution, we're looking at a product that is far evolved to include hardware components, amenity on the ground information, and is now very focused for multifamily. That all being said, the product's evolved, the verticals have expanded. The fundamental NOI levers as to why folks in the industry are doing this have not changed. So it's really fascinating. If we look here at the evolution of the technology, you'll see the smart lockbox. That's what we originally started with. I actually have one on the desk. It's a smart box that allows the renter to check in, get a one-time entry access code. This technology here is still in use today. It's an excellent starting point for those that are looking to do self-showing. It's low cost, and you can get right into the industry. It's interesting that the next thing that we always knew that digital lockboxes was just a starting point for this journey with self-showing technology. And we've done over 15 million renter showings on our platform. But after we first started, we were looking into ideas for what would come next. And we were actually, a couple of years ago, there was a big trend where these retrofittable devices were going over deadbolts. We actually were part of AOL's Engadget competition because we had a retrofit device that could go right over the deadbolt here and turn it into a smart device. We ended up deciding not to go forward with that project, even though you could still buy that product today, because all the locks in the industry started coming out with Bluetooth, Z-Wave, and more smart functionality. So the thought internally was, why develop a retrofit device when we could integrate fully with all these smart locks that are coming to market, and our customers could essentially go smart on brand new install on the lock for the same price. So that was the next step in our evolution. The product evolution is from digital lockbox, a Bluetooth lock was introduced to the market. And that's, a really cool solution because you could do self-showing to get the renter to register on mobile in the door through the lock. But then when they move in, they can actually utilize that lock. I personally use the lock codes, for folks, a family that need to come in and out. Then when move out time comes, of course, that can be completely automated. But what's really cool here is if you look at the introduction of smart home technology, our platform has just seen a huge spike in showings that have occurred since smart home tech and common area access have come to market. And this, part of the unraveling of the product evolution really is getting smarter and smarter and smarter. And with that, the exponential growth of renters that are joining the platform and utilizing it is really speeding up. So we're seeing some great momentum in the industry. So we talked about verticals. We started with single family when we introduced this technology, and it's humbling because just Clark and I, and if you go look on Facebook, you'll see us actually putting the first 4 signs into the ground. And now we've got hundreds of employees throughout the world, robust IP portfolio, thousands of clients nationwide. It is humbling to really have worked with everybody in this industry to create and build something so fantastic. But even as the verticals have expanded, even as the product has evolved, the fundamental NOI levers are the same. The reason why folks are adopting this technology is primarily for 3 reasons. We've got the ability to reduce operating costs. By going with self-showing tech, you unlock value. And finally, there's opportunity to increase revenue. So we're actually going to go through a couple of case studies today. And these case studies are all available online on the Rently site in the testimonial section. So I encourage everybody to take a look. Some fascinating insights that we're going to go through now. There was the Aliso Legacy Partners owned Aliso Apartments, and they had a challenge. They were spending 45 minutes to an hour an hour and a half actually on a 7-acre property. And, I've been to some of these communities, and as you know, there's the leasing office in one building. And oftentimes the leasing staff needs to walk across the street to go do a showing, and then they'll come back. So if you take, 20 minutes to get there, 20 minutes for a showing, and sometimes you can have a renter that'll stay there for 30 minutes to an hour, right? So, and then 20 minutes to walk back, you get 45 minutes. So they needed a solution that would really enable them to be much more efficient and also reduce costs as part of the showing process. What they did was they implemented Rently's self-guided tours for their multifamily it was actually integrated with their multifamily platform. And what they were able to see in terms of results was just amazing. They did 250 self-guided tours, saving them at least 190 hours, right? Probably more, based on the hour and a half mark. But they were essentially able to go and show these properties remotely while being in the office and facilitating so much more in terms of volume transactions. So if a leasing agent on their own could traditionally show, 5, 6, 7 folks in a day, now with this technology, not only are they saving time, driving efficiency and reducing operating costs, but they're also able to take on a lot more. So, really, really interesting case study there. A lot of people think, oh, is self-showing technology something that necessarily has to compete with the leasing agent? And the answer is it's actually it's an amazing tool that the leasing agent can use to increase their productivity. And so, like we just said, instead of being able to go and show 6 or 7 or 8 properties in person, now a leasing agent can potentially process 40, 50 showings in a day and work on other items like move in, move out. So it's actually a tremendous tool that can be utilized by the leasing staff. It facilitates more tours without having to hire more staff. And another great benefit, not directly related to the leasing portion, but to the turn side of the business, is the ability to eliminate keys, the rekey portion. Once a year, of course, folks have to digitally rekey the home. And with this technology, you could just digitally rekey it. There's no need to actually head out and do a physical rekey. So there's savings there as well. Now let's talk about unlocking value. We've got ResProp and the Quina Bay apartments. They were missing out on showings due to the limited office hours. Most companies that operate on in-person showings, they're showing from 8, maybe 9 to 5 p.m. Most prospects that are going potential rental prospects that are looking for a place to rent, they would prefer not to see and take off work, for sure, not to see it during working hours, most certainly. So what they did at the Quina Bay apartments was implement Rently's self-guided touring technology from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So they expanded the windows. We recommend daylight hours, and we recommend doing it 7 days a week. So they expanded the showing time. Stunning fact here, 75, and we're gonna have more data on it in just a slide, which is so cool. 75% of tours came when the leasing office was closed, right? These are prospects that would not have otherwise come through the funnel. 75%, it's a huge number of tours came when the leasing office was closed. So big expansion there in terms of results and renter prospects unlocking huge value. We've actually collected data internal to our system. And what you see here is that when most renters choose to, on their own fruition, go see a property, actually happens to be after hours and on weekends. Saturday is a really hot day on this heat map here. And, an interesting personal story is, when we were starting Rently, nearly a decade ago, my father, he inherited his mom's home in Laguna. They live in Los Angeles. Laguna Beach is like an hour and a half drive away. And they needed to lease the property. And my folks aren't business people, but I said, give me a shot to do it, Dad. I want to lease your property. So I explained to him that we have this new technology. I drove out there myself, put the digital lockbox on the door, set up the for rent sign. And one Sunday, the immediate Sunday, actually, after I'd done the setup, I think it was a Thursday or a Friday, I got a call on my phone. I didn't, see it at the time. I was surf fishing in the sand. I love to surf fish for perch, but it was a renter calling. They had finished the self-showing on the system and they wanted to rent the property. That renter, we did the screen, and that renter moved in nearly a decade ago. It's still renting with my folks today. They probably love it. Like I said, my pops isn't a businessman, so he hasn't really raised the rent, which is a nice perk of renting from my dad. But that being said, we've got good tenants who take really good care of the home, and they've been there for nearly a decade. In terms of unlocking value, the system provides flexibility for prospects to tour on their own time, as we've said, and it allows you to capture additional prospects that you wouldn't have otherwise had coming through the system, right? Here's a really, really cool thing about using Rently is that with over 15 million renters that have gone and continue to go through our system, we actually generate traffic. Some of the biggest names in the space are, lead generators in our industry. And Rently, as ILS, is actually providing you with unique organic traffic so that you can drive, in addition to this tool being as cool as it is on its own, you're able to drive additional traffic from the site itself. And in some markets, there's great brand value too. Like in Atlanta, we got off the plane and our Uber driver, they knew about Rently. I mean, Rently was widely used on many properties there. So in the case of First Key Communities, they increased touring traffic by 29%, utilizing the marketing syndication, and that includes our site as well. Let's talk about increasing revenue. At the Flatiron District, this was kind of an interesting case study actually, because we had a community that was undergoing construction and there was a lot of foot traffic. So interesting challenge. You don't want to have any slippage, with renters coming and going and the community being busy. And also you want to fill vacancies before they're even ready to show. Some of them haven't even been completed in terms of being built. So this was a really interesting scenario. And of course, the mandate's still clear. You guys, team, need to maintain high occupancy rates. So how did they solve the problem? They put Rently's self-guided tour on model and vacant units. They activated 17 units for self-guided tours and received 146 leases on average. So in this case, they didn't even necessarily have the technology on every single unit. They were utilizing it in the context of a new build environment where the communities were being added. And phenomenal results, because by putting the technology on the model units, they were actually able to go ahead and lease them in advance and drive those results. So this is a really cool study here. There's really many reasons to be going in this direction now. I mean, when you think of smart home technology, it's very much like any other amenity that a community likes to include these days. I mean, A/B class properties often include pools, they include gyms, and the ability to use full-on smart hub and set of smart devices in the unit is a tremendous amenity value to the renter. Like I said, I live with the Rently Smart Home, of course, in my home. The hub is plug in the wall, the higher tier solution hub goes in the wall. It's got Wi-Fi and cellular, and that cellular allows my home to stay online even when Wi-Fi goes down. But I commonly use the smart features on a day-to-day basis. I set the Wi-Fi up, as a first, but the cellular as a backup. And then I'll set schedules on the thermostat for when I want the heater to go off automatically at night in the winter when it's cold. Like I said, with the locks, I'm able to set codes for family and friends that I want to be able to visit the home. And also we've got sensors. So if any windows are open, I'm able to see that as well. I mean, it's a full-on experience. And, we talked about at the beginning of the presentation, this all started as a point solution for mobile. Mobile technology where you've got the renter registering, going up to the door, going and getting a one-time entry access code on a high-tech lockbox. But now this is, much more of a platform play where the manager is facilitating the self-showing as step one. The full smart home system is equipped. The smart home system being equipped, the renter can then go up to the digital lock, get a one-time entry access code to go in. And then they could apply digitally, through with the leasing technology online, and they can then move in. And you could have vendors servicing the homes. Conceivably, with this technology, you don't even have to go out to the whole process, go out to the property. The whole process is completely driven end to end, which is really so cool. So it started as this point service, very automated, very self-showing, automated related, and it's expanded into a full-on platform. And something that a lot of folks used to talk about, and it's still talked about today when introducing this technology, is the ability to charge more in rent. Renters are definitely willing to pay more for this technology without a doubt, without question. But there's so many other reasons to use this now, just basic operating reasons to use the technology, that the ability to get a slight increase is just icing on the cake. But we're absolutely seeing that across the board with folks that are adopting the technology. So in the case of this community, self-guided touring technology is more important than ever now. Rently uses us as a robust solution with a variety of options that can work at any property and meet our ever-growing needs. So, I highly encourage everybody to take a look at the case studies on the Rently site. I want to thank everybody at RETCON for coming together and doing this virtually. God willing, with COVID ending, we'll all be able to do it soon together in person. And it's exciting. We're having a huge impact on the industry, and this technology is only going to continue to evolve and get more exciting. And so let's all continue to keep pushing the boundaries together and having a positive impact on the industry. I want to thank you all so much, and we appreciate all those that are working with us out there, and hope to have the opportunity with those who are new to the tech. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Merrick. That was great.